Good morning, everyone. How are you? Doing well? Great. My name is Tenny Frost. I'm the Executive Director of Development and Alumni Relations at Berkeley Haas. It's great to see some of you. I spy some alumni in the audience, too. Nice to see you all. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce to you one of the kindest and happiest individuals on planet Earth. Yes, that's right. Kenny Vaughn is that guy. He is an eternal optimist whose professional career is rooted in a deep desire to make the world a more equitable place for future generations. In 2008, Kenny commissioned as an air defense officer in the U.S. Army, serving in numerous leadership positions to include company commander, where he was responsible for the training, readiness, and welfare of 115 soldiers, 11 families, and over $140 million of military equipment. Kenny also formerly served as West Point's Director of Diversity, Admissions, and Outreach, where he led the effort to matriculate 3 out of the 4 most diverse classes in the Academy's 200-plus year history. Amazing. He recently joined Indeed as a senior manager, where his current focus is workplace culture, technical recruiting, and employee representation. He attended the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and he earned his MBA right here at Berkeley Haas, with a focus on healthcare and entrepreneurship. He is also happily married with 2 amazing children. I want to thank Kenny for coming out from Kentucky to join us on campus for this in-person program today. There may be aspects of his presentation that may elicit an emotional response. We encourage you to take care of yourself and to stay present for this impactful presentation. Thank you. Without further ado, Kenny Vaughn.
Since August 89, I've been breaking statistics. What I got left to prove, I've been showed you how I move. This persistence, entrepreneur, what's persistence?
We're having a good time right now. So go ahead, I'm about to take a selfie. If you want to take one, you can take your phone out too, but we're about to have a good time. Come on now, come on, let's bring it back.
Keep paying me mine while I play with your mind and tell you how I love the fact you're helping paying me mine. Really don't like what you see, you qualitatively blind. Truthfully though, I think they agitated as mine.
See, some of y'all gonna wish y'all had taken that selfie, I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so now that we got that out there, so that song was, I love that song because that's my classmate, Ace Patterson. That is a young man who was doing some amazing work with his heartbeats. And whenever you can give your classmate a shout out, you got to take the opportunity. So before we get started, can we give the organizers of this event a round of applause? Sometimes I think it's easy to forget all of the amazing hard work that goes into putting an event like this together. And so I always want to make sure we acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the amazing individuals that put things like this together. I'm excited for y'all. Can I just start by saying that? I'm a member of the class of 2016, and I remember it was not too long ago that I was here feeling the energy of this place. Like, Berkeley is such a special place. Coming back on the campus feels like a homecoming. And so I'm excited that you're here. I know it's a huge decision that you all are thinking about and getting ready to make at some point. But there's also something else that I remember from being in your shoes. And I remember I was like, man, this is cool and all, but I was like, I wonder what you got to do to be invited to come back and speak one of these things. As I was thinking, I said, and now that I'm here, I can actually tell you. Because there's a secret. You can't just be rich, okay? You got to be wealthy. I mean, you got to be like real wealthy and, big time donor. And then they invite you to come back. And so that's how these things work. And so I normally don't talk a lot about, my personal wealth or finances, but Is this circle of trust? Yeah, don't play it, brother, now. I need to know. This is the circle of trust? Okay, all right. So I'm actually a billionaire. And I know sometimes, it's people don't like to talk about these type of things in public, but I think it's important that if you are wealthy, it's important that you share that with people, because, sometimes it's good to put that out there so I can get out the way so you don't get on Google and like, man, this brother didn't tell me he was a billionaire, man. Now you know, okay? And people, when you say that, they always give you like this inquisitive look. They're like, okay, I wonder, like, can you tell me about your investment portfolio? Is it like, are you in crypto? Is it real estate? Is it stocks? Like, what is it that you, like, how did you do it, right? And so I'm honored to be able to come back and share my investment strategy with you all today. And so that's part of what I want to do. But before we do that, I'll give you a rundown. So we're going to reimagine the definition of wealth, right? Because I want to talk about how we spend the world's most valuable currency. So I'll share my journey as part of that story because I think stories help bring things home. And so I'll share through the lens of my personal investment strategy. And then I'm just hopefully going to be able to illustrate how this Berkeley Haas experience was transformative for me, okay? So we're here. Let's talk about numbers, okay? And so I remember the first time I had the realization that I was actually a billionaire. I was looking back, I was taking inventory of my portfolio, and I'm laying back on this acupuncture table, and I was thinking about my heartbeat, and I was like, man, since the day I was born, my heart has been beating steady, day in, day out, through the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, 365. Every single day of my life, my heart's been beating. And I was like, man, I was around 30 at the time. I said, I wonder how many times my heart is beat. And so I started doing some of the back of the envelope math. I said, okay, average resting heart rate, 75 beats per minute. Okay, so you multiply that by 60, that's 4,500 beats per hour, right? Okay, let's take this out to a day. Man, that's 100,000 heartbeats every single day. Times that by 365, we got 40 million heartbeats every single year. So I was 30 at the time, I'm thinking through this whole equation, and I get excited because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a billionaire. I always wanted. I was looking down and hit the B club. I said, come on now, look at God. I'm going to receive that blessing, And, something that was kind of funny at first, but, by the age of 25, everyone is a billionaire. Is anyone under 25 in here? Okay, we got a couple. You're almost there. Hey, hang around. You're going to make it too. One day you can be the big leagues too. But by the time you're the age of 25, you too are a billionaire. And that's such a beautiful and rich thought to think about. So now that we have the common understanding that we all are very rich, what do rich people do? We should go on a trip, right? We go on a trip. Anybody go on a trip? You go on a trip? You go on a trip? Okay, let's go on a trip. So we're going to leave, and we're going to go on a trip from San Francisco. Let's go to Bali. Come on, we billionaires now. Let's go to Bali. So we're going to go to Bali from San Francisco. And one thing that you'll notice when you go from the U.S. to Bali is that the exchange rate is $1 to 15,000 Indonesian rupiah, right? Okay, cool. Now, stuff is obviously expensive over there, so you got a cheeseburger's going to be like 45,000 rupiah, but just important things to know as you're traveling, right? And so you go over there, have yourself a great time, and you're reflecting on all these amazing memories that you made in Bali, because you're out in Bali living your best life. I mean, we out there, and we got the temple stay. We're out there, namaste. We just out there living the best life. Then we're going, and, we getting these fitness gains out here. It was like, oh, man, we had a good time out there in Bali. We got the infinity pool, man. Y'all ain't seen the infinity pool since that infinity pool in Bali. I mean, that's an infinity pool for you. Look at this beach. I mean, that's one bad beach right there. I mean, look at that beach. That beach is amazing, right? And then, you look at this last picture, you got that bear up there, you said, this is a sign. I took the picture with the bear, got the go bear. He said, we're going to pack up, we're going to move to Bali, right? And so we sell all of our belongings, we liquidate all our assets, and we got about $70,000 before we make this move. You know what happens when you move to Bali? You're a billionaire! Yes! You have made it, you've made your billions. It's in rupiah, but you're a billionaire, right? And so the question now becomes, what currency do we value the most, right? Now, it is business school, so we got to talk about some business type stuff. I can't just be up here talking about heartbeats. We got to talk about some business stuff. So we'll do it. So one of the first things that you learn in your introduction to finance class is you talk about what is money? What is currency? Like, what is it? And often the most basic definition is it has two pretty basic properties. It's a store of value, and it's a medium of exchange, right? And so that $10 in our pocket, it doesn't really mean anything until we go to McDonald's and we give them $10. In exchange for the $10, they give us a Big Mac or a Happy Meal, right? Because it's a medium of exchange. It's a store of value you can hold on to, and it's going to mean something over time, right? And so these are two very important properties of it. So we get 100,000 heartbeats a day, right? And I know a lot of people who've made money. They've made a lot of USD. I know a lot of people who've lost money. I don't know anyone who's run out of heartbeats and is having a good day, right? Just ain't heard of it. It's just not really a thing. But the question is if we're saying that heartbeats are a currency, how do you spend a heartbeat, right? Well, some people would say it's time, right? Okay. Heartbeat, spending time. But if I were to turn my back to you all and we not exchange any words for the next 30 minutes, not really any value being exchanged, right? And so it's not just our time, but it's our time and our attention, right? Because our time plus our attention equals our intention, right? This is how we spend heartbeats, right? It's the conversations that we have. It's the investing in ourselves. It's the reading that we do. It's the exchange of value, of time and attention, where we're spending our intention, right? That's how we spend a heartbeat, right? So now that we realize we've got 100,000 of these things that we're spending every single day, we got to ask ourselves some very important questions, right? How are we spending our wealth? How are we spending our fortune? 100K a day? I mean, that's some bags right there. We got to get excited about that. I mean, that's some real, you can do a lot with 100K, right? And so what I would challenge you to think about, and we got a couple of, it doesn't matter if the X is in there. We got to think about the way in which we navigate the world each day. The state in which we navigate the world each day, right? As we look at the top up here, we can operate from a state of loving or content or thoughtfulness. Everything up above the line, those are all states of empowerment, right? That's a good place to be operating and navigating life from, right? It's a healthy place. As you think about some of the words on the bottom here, discouraged, overwhelmed, hateful, ashamed, depressed, you can spend your heartbeats that way, but I'm living proof and I'm telling you that those are all states of disempowerment. Right? And so there's interesting statistics. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with dollars. I mean, you need money to, US dollars to live, right? But there's interesting statistic around lottery winners, right? 70% of lottery winners will end up going broke within 5 years of winning the lottery. 70%. And there's a reason behind that. The reason is because they were rich, but they were never wealthy. They were rich, but they were never wealthy. Everyone in this room is getting 40 million heartbeats every single year. We're all very rich. But I don't just want you to be rich. I want you to be wealthy. I want you to live the sweet life. I want you to step into a room and radiate joy with the smile that you have on your face, because you are navigating the world from a state of empowerment. And so now I get a chance to tell you about my investment strategy. Tell you what's in my portfolio, okay? So I have 3 holdings in my portfolio. And the 3 holdings are this. I've got holdings in joy. I've got holdings in gratitude. I've got holdings in love. That's 3 holdings in my personal portfolio. And those holdings inform how I navigate life and how I choose to spend my heartbeats, to choose to spend the riches that we are blessed with just by sheer nature of being, right? So we're going to talk about that. 9 principles in the heart. Okay, investments in joy. Now, the reason this is important, because we got to take it all the way back. We can't just start from highs. We got to take it back so you understand where the mindset comes from. And so this is actually my family. This is ours since 1997. I don't know where we're going. We're going somewhere about to have a good time, I guess so. But this is my mom, my dad, and my sister before my youngest sister was born. And the cool thing to know about this is that my dad was in the military for 25 years. My mom immigrated from Dominica. Grew up with a lot of joy and a lot of love in my household, right? And the one thing about the military is that you move around a lot. By the time this picture was taken, I had been in 6 different schools in the course of 9 years. And so as an Army brat or a military brat, your family becomes very core, right? And you're always waiting for that next assignment, by the way, because you're always moving, you're always shaking. The other thing they don't tell you about moving around a lot is that you're always the new kid. You're always new. And when you're new, you have to navigate the world a little bit differently, because you don't just get to walk in and have friends. And so you have a choice. You can either be friendly or you can be lonely. Lonely is not very fun. I'll tell you that from experience. And so these are all things that I learned very early in life. And see, look at that young fella right there. I promise you, there are more than 3 people that attended this school, okay? I know there's 3 folks, I promise there's more than 3 of us. But what I learned is that the world rewards joy. It rewards friendliness. And this was my proof back in 8th grade. Oh man, there's something behind this. I can make friends by just being myself. And so the first principle is to manifest the remarkable uniqueness of you. You are one of one. There has never been and will never be another you. Ever. And when you think about that, that's kind of a heavy thought, right? That's kind of deep. That's kind of heavy. But it's also so empowering, right? Because you don't have to be a carbon copy of someone else. You get to manifest the remarkable uniqueness of you. What does that mean? Okay. What does it mean to manifest? Think about the example of the sun, right? The sun is it's beautiful. It radiates heat. It's life-giving, right? It just is. And so we all come here with unique gifts, dreams, hopes, and ambitions that are unique to you. And all you have to do is let them manifest and radiate and be a blessing and be of service to others, right? Whenever you forget and it's too hard, just think about the sun. What does the sun do? In the morning, it rises and it lets its light shine Fiat Lux. That's the thing around here, right? Let the light shine. That's the Berkeley motto, Fiat Lux. That's the thing? Okay, let your light shine. That's number one. This right here is another investment in joy. And this was a tough time because this is my wife, Seneca, and this is our son, Taj. And we were both active duty military, deployed in Korea of all places, living 3 hours apart because the Army will do that to you sometimes. And it was tough. And it was really tough working a full-time job, trying to raise a child, being newlyweds. I mean, a lot of life coming at you. And one thing that I realized through this chapter of life is that you got to reframe happiness, right? Because a lot of us think happiness is like a noun, right? It's just this thing. It just kind of comes to you and just happens. But nah, man, happiness is a verb. It's something you got to do. You got to be willing after a long day of work and you're tired and exhausted to get up and to make the hamburger helper, because I couldn't really cook nothing. So, I could ground some beef. I could do that. But you got to make the hamburger helper for your son. You got to be willing to get on the bus every weekend and ride 3 hours to go visit your wife, even after you've been done, and she's got to get on the train and come 3 hours and visit you, because that's happiness. That's how you happy. That's an action that you have to take. It's not a noun. It's a verb. It's something that you do. And so, interesting thing happens not too long after this picture is taken is, I'm in Chick-fil-A drive-thru of all places, because all great thoughts come to you at Chick-fil-A, right? Who can't be having a great thought when you're eating a chicken sandwich? And so we're sitting in the drive-thru and we're thinking about life and whether or not we should stay in the Army or get out the military, so on and so forth. And my wife asked me a question that no one had really asked me about in my career. And the question was, what makes you happy? Well, I like to watch football. I go to work. What do you mean what makes you happy? She's like, no, what makes you happy? I said, well, I like people. I'm okay with numbers. I said, maybe that's business. Yeah, maybe I could do this business thing. And so I started applying for business school. So I'm going to go to business school. And the Army had this program where actually, if you go back to work at West Point and you're working, I chose to work in admissions, they'll actually send you back to school to get an MBA. And so this is the program that I'm coming through. And so I remember sitting in your shoes in this auditorium. And I'm listening to this guy. He's the dean of the school, the business school, but he's just so vibrant. His name is Rich Lyons, and he's talking about path-bending leadership and how the world has these massive challenges that are on this linear path that we as business leaders have to think about. Global warming, food shortages, just access to drinkable water. And we need leaders to go solve these problems, be path-bending leaders. We got Steph Fuji, one of the most amazing and kind human beings that I've ever met. And she's talking about these 4 defining principles: beyond yourself, students always, question the status quo, and, confidence without attitude. And I'm like, wow, this is some heavy, I like this. This is some heavy, I can get down with that. I had visited a couple of different other programs, but some schools, man, you walk up in there and I'm not going to put no names out there or nothing, because this ain't that type of party. But you can tell when you're welcome, and you can tell when you're not necessarily as welcome. But I remember showing up on this campus, and we have these things called Haas Student Ambassadors. This is Nate right here. He was the Coast Guard guy. And they're picking up my kids, and they're giving them piggyback rides. So I'm like, okay, I can get down with that. And my mother-in-law, I don't know why she has flowers, but we're here and she has flowers in Berkeley. And she's with the bears. I'm like, okay. And then the moment I knew we were coming to Haas, as we went up and we took a picture, I said, now, we got to go to Haas now, man. I don't know, we were thinking about going before, but we got to go to Haas now. And so what that experience taught me, coming to visit a place like you're doing right now, is it taught me a very simple lesson about investment, right? To invest in the people, in the places, in the institutions that bring you joy and growth, right? And divest in those that don't, right? And you ain't got to cancel nobody, but you could definitely move away from some stuff that ain't serving you, right? And so this was a really valuable lesson. Now we got to go to my second holding in my portfolio, which is investments in gratitude. And so, quick story behind this picture. These two women to the left are angels, right? Because being a full-time student is really tough. Being a full-time student while your wife is a full-time student is really, really tough. Being a full-time student while your wife is a full-time student and you got 2 kids, oh man, that damn near impossible right there. I'm going to just tell you. That's some hard work. But it takes a village. And I am so grateful for the second family that we built that was here, because it takes a village to make things like this happen. And so we actually going to have dinner with her tonight. I'm excited about that. We're going to have a good old time. But yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah, you know. I told you should have took that selfie. You're going to miss that's not having that selfie here. I had the distinct honor and privilege. Man, it was such an honor to represent my class for our commencement speech. I mean, you talk about blessings, man. I was like, me? I mean, I don't know. I'm still wondering why they. I was like, me? And if I had to attribute it to one thing, I think I may know what it may have been. Because all I was a reflection. I was a reflection of the light. I was a reflection of the beauty. I was a reflection of a lot of the amazing things that I was surrounded by while I was here, right? And so all I really did was I just planted seeds of gratitude graciously, right? And in this speech, I gave away the secret sauce. Because when you know something, it don't mean nothing until you pay it forward. And I told anyone who was willing to listen the 2 most powerful words that I know. And those words are thank you. Thank you. Right? Because what thank you says, I see you. Everybody wants to be seen. Thank you says, I appreciate you. Everybody wants to be appreciated. Thank you says, I am present enough in this moment that even with all the stuff I got going on, I'm going to take a moment and acknowledge what you have done for me. That's the power of gratitude. That's the power of 2 of the most underutilized words that I have known. So all you have to do in this lifetime is just plant seeds, because I'm telling you, I'm living proof that them seeds, they start to blossom. Some people are doing a lot of planting. Some people ain't. But I'm telling you, regardless of whether you plant or not, them seeds going to blossom. And so the principle is to plant seeds of gratitude and be gracious in the planting, right? Oh, I had a lot to be grateful for. I had so much to be grateful for on this Haas journey. Because when I reflected on the 18 months that I got a chance to spend on this campus, how could I not look back on it with joy? How could I not look back and have gratitude for the amazing human? This is the consortium. So the consortium, some of y'all may know about the consortium, but the consortium is a really great organization whose sole purpose is to help underrepresented minorities and groups earn degrees in business. And so before I even got to the Haas campus, I got a chance to meet some really amazing classmates who had some very similar lived experiences. We connect on a really deep level before we even got here, That's my consortium, fam. This is my study group. It's my personal opinion that we were the best study group of all time, but I'll leave that for debate. And the cool thing about this is when I came here, man, I came with some insecurities. Because I'm coming from a military background, I hadn't known too much about no profit and loss and all this fancy stuff that they was talking about. But I had teammates that did. And they were so kind and gracious and helpful to make sure that I could build my confidence up in the stuff that they had lived as business professionals. Man, that was so cool. I'm thankful for the fun times. This is the 80s party. It's a consumption function. We like to party at Berkeley. I'm going to just tell you that right now, okay? I'm thankful to not take ourselves too seriously because what fun is that, right? So sometimes you got to have an 80s party and just have a good old time. Thankful for the good times. I'm thankful for travel because if I got one piece of advice, when you come to business school, you got to go on a trip or two. I mean, just do yourself that favor and just go on a trip, have a good time somewhere. And so this is a trip. We went to spring break. We went to Peru. We did the Inca Trail. That was a good time. And even in Peru, you bump into classmates. So this is my house. I'm just random. I was like, oh, yeah, y'all out here too? I was like, okay, let's have a good time, right? And so I had so much to be grateful for, and this is the final day of class. This is the champagne toast of a lot of hard work. And all those smiles are genuine because we're happy for each other. Wasn't no backstabbing, wasn't no competition. We was all winning and all happy to be toasting it up. And, one of the cool things that I used to, if you ask any of my classmates, one of the things they'll tell you is I always used to sit in the front, right? Because that's just what you do when you're from the military and you just sit in the front all the time. And one of the things that is kind of a metaphor is, the next principle is just to be present. Just show up. Just show up and be present in gratitude. And here's the beautiful thing about the present. One of my professors, Yaniv, we're in class, and he gave me this metaphor. I was like, I'll never forget. It was the most interesting thing to get in a business school class. He said, students, I want to tell you something. He said, the past is a history. The future is a mystery, but the present is a gift. I'm like, dang, that's deep. I like that. I'm gonna borrow that from you. But it's so true when you think about the present, because the only thing that happens when you spend too much time thinking about the future is you get a little bit of anxiety, you get a little bit of worry, and that's natural. That's okay. That's okay. You start thinking about the past too much, now you got to deal with regret. You're like, oh man, I wish I would have done better. But when you're present, and you're present in gratitude, man, that reveals the richness and the beauty and the splendor of life that you are surrounded by. And so that's what that picture reminds me of right there. Just to be present in gratitude. So I really like this picture here because it's a picture of one of my dear mentors, Marco Lindsay, all the way over there on the right. Marco, we can clap for that, brother. We can clap for him. And one of the reasons that I love this picture so much is because when you come to business school, one of the things that they don't necessarily prepare you for is the great search that you will be on. There's a great search. It's not a job search. It's a search for identity. If you do this thing right, you play your cards right, business school is a really good opportunity to learn a lot about yourself. If you're fortunate enough to be in a full-time program, you don't have to worry about work. You get a chance to just take classes, reflect, try to figure out who you are and who you would like to become. Because life is a journey in becoming, right? And that's something that's important that you're going to learn on your business school journey. And so I remember coming to Marco with an idea where it kind of exchanging. I was like, man, I would love if there would be an opportunity for me to, if we could connect and kind of get all the brothers together, because this is one of the first times, where, and Marco, I'm going to tell you something about Marco too. Marco, I love this brother because he's the brother that made it, but never forgot where he came from. He never forgot where he came from. And getting a chance to see him celebrate his blackness, I said, okay, I want to be around that. This is a diversity symposium. We got to talk about some diverse stuff, so we're going to take it there. We're going to take it all the way there. And so he puts together these resources, he gets this funding, and he allows us to start what are called these brothers' luncheons, right? And it was one of the most beautiful parts of my Berkeley experience because I got a chance to connect at a very, very deep level with these brothers. Now, do y'all mind if I take like a 20-second pause? Is that okay with you all? That's all right? Okay. I'm gonna take this suit and tie off because it's a little bit suffocating. Is that okay with y'all? Okay, give me 2 seconds here. We got some elevator music or something? I'm just playing. So I'll be very quick. All right, y'all. It's not too... Okay. Is it? Okay. All right. So I'm going to move quickly. So we're going to do a wardrobe change for real, because I want to articulate something to you. We out here in these Berkeley streets. Oh, you can clap for the Ferraris. You can clap for them. It's okay. It's all right. Okay. I'm going to take this off because this is how you got to get when you're out here talking to folks. But when we're out in the actual world, we got to relax a little bit. So I'm going to continue to talk. Give me one more second. And we're going to get a little more comfortable. Oh, okay. All right. We're going somewhere with this. And so, as I'm thinking about these lunches, I'm trying to remember why these lunches were so impactful to me. Yeah, here we go. This brother is crazy. What this brother about to do? I promise we're going somewhere, y'all. Okay. Can y'all hear me all right? Okay. So in my normal day-to-day, this is probably how I navigate. This is a little more comfortable. And as I'm sitting and chilling with these brothers, we can appreciate things like the Ferrari Pumas, man. Like, man, that's fly. We can talk about culture. It's a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing to be able to connect on that level. But it's also a painful thing. It's also real painful because there's an unwritten story that we understand. And we understand at a very deep level 3 of the most painful and dehumanizing words that another human being can ever say out loud. I can't breathe. we saw George Floyd, we didn't have to acknowledge, we just knew that that could have been any one of us because of the shackles of racism. But you know, it's about more than the shackles of racism. There's a whole bunch of shackles in this world. There's shackles of classism. This is a representation of factory workers who work at trillion-dollar companies fighting for livable wages while their CEO net worth skyrockets past hundreds of billions of dollars. It's the shackles of sexism as women in Iran protest the death of a young woman who was missed wearing a hijab and was apprehended by the morality police, died in their hands. It's the shackles of Mother Earth as she screams with unprecedented weather events as we try to free ourselves from the shackles of consumerism, the shackles of materialism that are causing us to take away resources in a way that's unsustainable. But the interesting thing about oppression is that it allows you to more clearly see the common humanity that we share. And when you see that humanity, you can do like the sun and you can rise. And at first, you may only be able to rise and take a knee. Because regardless of your profession, that's the beautiful thing about heartbeats. The beautiful thing about heartbeats is you don't have to have prestige, you don't have to have status, you don't have to have wealth, because you're already rich, you're already wealthy. And so you could be a San Francisco quarterback, and you can use your platform to take a knee. It doesn't matter your social status. You could be a frontline worker at Amazon and you can take a stand and unionize like Chris Smalls is doing at Amazon right now. It doesn't matter your sensory ability. You could be blind. You could be deaf like Heba Gurman and be an advocate for ableism. Be an advocate for those who are disabled. It doesn't matter your age. You could be a young girl like Greta Thunberg and use your voice as a platform to fight for sustainability. Because the beautiful thing about humanity is we're all running a race, our own individual race. But it doesn't matter what race you're running. Regardless of the race, regardless of your race, you can believe in the audacity of hope and you can run like a Barack Obama, right? That's the beautiful uniqueness of you being one of one, is we're all running our own race. And with heartbeats, you ain't got to have $1 million to make an impact. You can run your own race. Because you're surrounded by love. You are surrounded and you're not in this thing by yourself. That's what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to sustain you in the tough days and the tough times. Is to understand that you're surrounded by a common humanity. People that might not look like you on the surface, people that might not understand, but we're all striving for the same things. And that's why I love this picture right here. because it's a reminder that regardless of what you look like, we're striving for the same things. And that's mastering the alchemy of gratitude. That regardless of the pain that you feel, because it was painful, that sitting back and watching George Floyd, that's the most painful thing I've seen in my life. That's the most painful thing that I have ever seen. But you can leverage those emotions and turn them into a platform. You can turn them into something that galvanizes others to move and take action. And that's the alchemy of gratitude. I'm so thankful to be me because I can use my voice as a platform with the pain that I have and spread light. That's how you master the alchemy of gratitude. Last portfolio is the portfolio of love. And for this one, this is actually a picture of our family, and we went to a trip to visit Harriet Tubman's house. And whenever I want to get down on myself and I start feeling bad about life, I try to think about the ancestors. Because the stuff I'm dealing with right now ain't nothing, man. It ain't nothing compared to the stuff that not just my ancestors, but everybody's ancestors been through. To come to a new country and have the courage to fight for a better standing, a better lot in life for your family. The courage to move forward and look for a better life for yourself and for others. And I don't have a lot of other pictures for this one because this is a choice. You can either believe that life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you and for you. Or you don't believe that. And that's not for me to decide, that's up to you. But as I look back over my life and think about not only the good times, but the bad times, not only the joy, but the trauma, it's the realization that if anything had happened differently, I would not be here in this moment talking to you. If anything happens different. And so you start to navigate life in a different kind of way because you start to see the beautiful serendipity of it all. The fact that my great-grandfather made the decision to serve in the Army, served in World War I, and that inspired my grandfather to serve, and that inspired my father to serve, and that inspired me to serve, and go to West Point, a place where I'd meet my wife, and now live this life. And you start to realize that the choices that we make on a daily basis don't just impact us. My great-great-grandfather didn't know that his decision to join the military was going to lead me here. But our choices reverberate far beyond anything that we can do in this lifetime. And so that's why I would really, really encourage you to just believe that life, it ain't happening to you. It's happening through you, right? I don't know where I would be if Harriet Tubman didn't do what she did, right? But because of her courage, because of her sacrifice, because of her ability to understand that in spite of everything that reality is trying to show me about my life, I can envision something different and envision something better for myself. And so the last piece that I want to share is I graduate from this place and I go back to West Point and I get a chance to do a job that I would have done for free. Working in college admissions, helping, students, get an education and find a better lot in life, man, I would have done that for free. And it was such a good time because, man, I got to work with some amazing human beings. I work with some folks that just brought so much joy and life to my spirit. And, oh, by the way, we were doing something impactful. I would have done this job for free. It was beautiful. But the only problem with the Army is they say, oh, I forgot this one. I'll tell you about this slide. Because sometimes in life, you have a vision for yourself. You're like, man, I'm putting together my 5-year plan, putting together my 10-year plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm giving this speech at Berkeley, so my life's going to be perfect. And then a pandemic happens. And you end up in your father-in-law's basement. And your kids are sharing a pull-out sofa together. I'm like, this was not in my 5-year plan. This wasn't the vision. But it was a beautiful thing. And the crazy part is, what's funny is I was enjoying life so much, but the Army has a funny way of telling you, hey, this season in life, it's going to have to change. So I had to leave not only West Point admissions, but I made the decision to transition out the Army, which was one of the most difficult decisions of my life. It was so hard because since I was a kid, my life was defined by the next assignment. You always got the next assignment and the next assignment. In the Army, they do a good job of telling you the next assignment. But all I knew at the time was my kids were getting older, and I wanted them to be able to spend the time, to spend the heartbeats with their grandparents. So instead of moving to New York, or instead of moving to California, we moved to Louisville, Kentucky. And Louisville's pretty good too. I'm not no shade on Louisville. I actually kind of like Louisville. But we moved to Louisville, Kentucky. And for the first time in my life, I didn't know the next assignment. And that's scary. It's scary not knowing what's next. But I will tell you, if there's one thing that I've learned over the past couple years, it's that if you're willing to fall in love with the journey rather than the destination, man, let me tell you, you're going to have some fun. Because you get a chance to watch your daughter learn traditions from your mom because you're home, you're close to home, right? You get a chance to really understand all the life lessons that your father was trying to teach you on the Monopoly board. I wonder where I get all this competitiveness from. It's because we used to play Monopoly all the time. You get a chance to see the person that you love actually take a break. Just take a woo-sigh. I don't know what's around the corner, but we could take a break and enjoy this thing called life. Man, that's the sweet life. You get a chance to serendipitously fall into hobbies that you always want to do with friends that you never know you were going to meet. These are some cool guys from Louisville. We have a lot of fun together. I'm a race car driver with these guys. We just have a good time. You get a chance to build new hobbies with old friends. Because you're not always just chasing the next thing. You're not always wondering what the next job is going to land or when the next promotion is going to be, because you get to just play some games. You get a chance to move into a new house and throw leaves on a fall day, because that's what you do when the leaves fall in the autumn. You don't just rush to the car and rush back and just rush. You throw some leaves. Have a good time. You get a chance to travel and go see your classmates in the Swiss Alps because you're trying to figure out the next step, and you go towards the people that bring you joy. And you have heartfelt conversations with them and try to figure out where you should go in life. And what I can tell you about folks that go to Haas is they're very genuine people. And they're going to be honest with you. And they'll give you some feedback. And they say, hey man, you might be in a bad situation right now. You might want to... I was telling him about my work situation. He said, hey man, if you want to just quit, we can go sail the Mediterranean. I was like, I can't quite do that, Kevin. You know, I'm looking at my check-ins and my savings. I might not be able to do that, but we'll talk about some things. And guess what happens? That same friend will come all the way from Switzerland and visit you in Kentucky, of all places. And you can talk to him about the Colonel. That's the first picture we took when he came. You get a chance to celebrate with your family because guess what? They were there for all of your celebrations. And so you get to be there for theirs. The special moments that they have because they have hopes and dreams and aspirations just like all of you. I love my brother. You get a chance to send your baby sister random TikTok videos on her birthday, interpretive dance, and watch her face as she laughs at you trying to keep up with Kendrick Lamar. She's like, my brother can't dance. You get a chance to welcome new brothers into your family and celebrate your sister falling in love and starting her own family. Man, that's the sweet life. That's beautiful. You get a chance to get your ears pierced with your son. Because he was in the military and you couldn't do that in the military. So I said, hey son, let's go get our ears pierced. Man, have a good old time together. I think I was having a better time than he was, but that's okay. I love you, son. You get a chance to see your daughter's face when she completes that Lego project that you've been working on together. And really feel the joy of youth, the joy of innocence, the joy of not worrying about everything all the damn time. That's what joy looks like. You get to be present for that. Man, that's worth falling in love with the journey. That's pretty sweet. You get to realize that I'm the photographer of both of these pictures. And life ain't waiting for nobody. You can sit up here worried if you want to, but life gonna keep on going by and the next generation is coming. And they coming fast. And if you don't enjoy it, you're gonna mess around and miss that. And if you're really lucky, you might just mess around and get a chance to enjoy that journey with someone who loves you just as much as you love them. So, I thought a lot about this last slide because it's a pretty heavy thing to come talk to a room of very accomplished folks. That's some heavy stuff. I said, man, what should I tell these people? You can go out and solve all the world's problems, but I don't want to put that pressure on you. That's breaking the principles. I want to say, everyone wants to talk about change. Make this change. Okay, change is good, right? But the interesting thing is I remember a conversation that Oprah actually had with Maya Angelou. And Oprah was saying how, man, I really loved being able to, share my message through television. And I think that was really powerful. But I think my biggest legacy is going to be the work that I did building these schools in Africa for these young ladies. And Maya Angelou said, you don't know what your legacy is going to be. You have no clue what your legacy is going to be because your legacy is the sum, it's the impact of every single life that you touch on this journey. And so, the last principle is the greatest change that we can make is the one from within. And I know we're business people, we're all type A. Oh, okay, I got it. I'll change from within. But I'm a competitor, man. I'm a competitor. I'm from the home of the greatest, Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a competitor. And then I'm reminded of a sermon by Martin Luther King. It was a sermon that he gave. It was actually his last sermon, 2 months before he was assassinated. And he talks about the drum major instinct. And the drum major instinct is the understanding that as human beings, we want to be great. We want to be recognized. We want to be valued. We want to be out front of the parade. We want to be the drum major. There's nothing wrong with that. You ain't got to be ashamed about it. But you got to be a drum major for the right things. You got to be a drum major for hope. You got to be a drum major for equality. You got to be a drum major for moral excellence. You can still be the greatest, but I was reading this sentence wrong. It's the realization that the greatest change from within. That's what the real greats do. And so I leave you with 2 words. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for allowing me to share a few of my heartbeats with you. Thank you.